Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Hump Day Hangout. This is episode 49, and today is the 7th of October. So we're rolling into October, and we're getting close to episode 52, but more on that later. So how's it going, Chris?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. Hernan, how's it going?
Hi everyone, it's good to be here.
Sorry, guys. You just made my day. I don't know. That's almost as good as Wayne. So, all right. Hey, Marco, how's it going?
I don't know yet.
And last but not least, Bradley, how you doing?
What's up, guys? All right.
Oh man, we got a few announcements to go over. Hopefully, Hernan has got his voice cleared up so he can do some more talking. But
yeah, I am. Sorry.
just some real quick announcements, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. But our link building services that we were talking about last week, we mentioned we were trying to get that back online. We're going to be opening up very shortly. So if you're on the waiting list, we'll be getting to you. And we'll be opening up and probably just taking about, I think about 100 orders. It depends. We've got to take a look at it here shortly. But we'll be sending out some more information on that. Let's see. We had the RYS contest. And before we get to that, I just want to say when we get to episode 52, we decided we're also going to do a contest with that. But part of that's going to be only for live attendees. So if you're watching this, like later in the week or something, episode 52 is going to be one you definitely want to be there. But we did do the drawings for the RYS contest, and if I pull this up, it looks like we had Steven at zeroshoes.com is the winner of the RYS, so he's getting free access to RYS Academy. So he's getting, well done. Well done, and he did a lot of sharing, so good job.
That means he was sharing that his link a lot, which gave him a greater chance of winning, I suppose, because that's I think how it works. But good job. I think you're really gonna enjoy it.
Good deal. And then Ron at Chinchillables at Gmail. These are great reading these. He's gonna get into the mastermind for free for a month and get to check that out. And so both of you guys will be contacting you via email if you're not listening or if you're watching this later. And then Jim Green, you are getting a free copy of the IFTTT SEO Academy. So again, we'll be contacting you. But good job, guys, and thanks for participating in the contest. And thanks to everybody who did it. And we'll definitely be using this again. We like it, and it's nice that it takes care of it. We don't have to, put everybody's email addresses into a hat and draw them out or anything. And it is weighted. Those guys got a better chance of winning. All three of those guys did more than just sign up, it turns out. And then they're given a weighted, probability to win by the software. So.
Yeah, and so keep that in mind because when we have our 52, our 1-year anniversary of Hump Day Hangouts, guys, which is coming up in 3 weeks.
Yep.
We haven't missed a single week in 52 freaking weeks. So, knock on wood, nothing happens between now and then. But same thing. We're going to be doing something very similar where we're going to have some giveaways and stuff like that, and it'll be basically the same thing. So get involved, get active, start sharing the link, and increase your chances, and you can win too.
Cool.
Okay.
Good deal.
Was there anything else?
That's it on my end. You guys got anything?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Okay.
All right, let's get rolling.
Let's see. We don't have a ton of questions yet, so this would be a good day for those of you that don't post your questions early to go ahead and post them now. I'm going to grab the screen, and we will jump right into it. All right, so we'll start down at the bottom with Kevin Stortz. I have a question about subdomains. Is it still okay to spam a subdomain to boost DA, or is Google now treating all subdomains and root domain as one? No, they're not treating them that way yet. My site is on www version. Am I thinking of spamming a random 123 subdomain, and I do not want to hurt my www? No, it won't. I mean, I'd still recommend that you set up a 301 redirect first and run everything to the 301 redirect domain instead of going just direct to a subdomain. That way you can switch it off very quickly and easily if you need to. But it's not subdomain sites are still considered basically separate sites compared to in Google's eyes. So if Google decides to change that at some point, it's going to cause a lot of freaking damage across the web. If Google decides to pass a penalty from a subdomain to all other subdomains, like across domain-wide settings, because that would be catastrophic, really, for so many different sites on the web, and that's why I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
So.
And just to be clear, you will be talking something like WordPress.com being shut down or Tumblr.com because those guys are using subdomains, to host all of our spammy Web 2.0s. So I don't think that will happen. Knock on wood as well. But subdomains, they are being used for pretty much everything, and it's really unlikely that to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also, if I build a Wikipedia link to a blog.subdomain, it will boost my www subdomain as well, right? Because DA is site-wide. Yeah, I mean it will increase your domain authority, sure. Remember, I mean domain authority is not the be-all end-all, but yeah, it will give it a boost. That's for sure. Because remember, domain authority, guys, is cumulative. It builds from the root domain and all pages and/or posts, and also from any subdomain. It's site-wide. So if you have a domain authority on your root domain, let's say it's 15, and you put a brand new subdomain on that domain, your subdomain domain authority is going to be 15 because it's site-wide. Okay? So if you increase the domain, if you point any links at any part of your domain, be it subdomain, page, or post, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's going to increase the domain authority of the entire domain and everything that's attached to it. It's a site-wide thing, a domain-wide metric. So there's no need to make sure that Wikipedia links point to a specific inner page on the blog or the blog post that the wiki link is pointing to, then links to an inner page, because a wiki link is nofollow, no PA, and the DA passed what do you say wide. Is this correct? Well, Kevin, a Wikipedia link may be nofollow, but it's still a very powerful link. Very powerful link. So if you can get a Wikipedia link like from wikipedia.com, not just like a wiki link, if you know what I'm talking about, like, because there's a million of those out there. There's a bunch of spam softwares that you can create wiki links, but like if you get one from actually Wikipedia, it's a no-follow, yeah. But I've seen some case studies in the past where you get for fairly competitive terms too, just one Wikipedia link will rank the site, even though it's no-follow. So, again, there's some sites, regardless whether they're no-follow or do-follow, if there's enough authority on those sites, you're gonna see a significant boost from that one link.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sorry, Bradley, but not only that. I mean, Wikipedia can bring tons of traffic to your website.
Damn right it can. Yeah.
So
and targeted traffic too, completely relevant to the. That's the key. So.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Let's see. The DA pass will be site-wide. Is this correct? Yeah, but see, again, I would make sure that if you're able to get a Wikipedia link, which means like you find a broken link and you contact you go in and insert a link back to content that's relevant. That's the whole thing with Wikipedia, guys. It's got to be valuable and correct, and so that if it gets moderated, it's likely to stick. And so that's really what you want to do. I mean, trying to game a Wikipedia link, it's probably short-lived for the most part. So that's why it's better, just if you're going to put the time and effort into trying to get a Wikipedia link, that you actually set up content where if you get that link and a moderator comes by and checks it, it'll stick. Okay, because otherwise it's just wasted time. But for strictly DA purposes, yeah, it doesn't matter where it goes. But I would recommend that you try to get a post or a page on your actual site that you're trying to rank and have content related to what that link is, from the content from within the Wikipedia article or page, so that if you get that link, it sticks for long term. All right, Kevin says, another question, can I use GSA to all my money sites, social profiles, and posts? Since these are all high DA and no follow links, none of the crappy trust flow will pass from my money site, nor will the PA, but should get a lot of DA passed as no follow passes DA. Is this all correct? Or will I seriously hurt my money site trust flow by doing this? Or will it hurt my 30-day old money site by having tons of backlinks when it only has 4 at the moment? My money site, social profiles, and posts. I don't recommend, unless you're really, really skilled with GSA, I do not recommend using it as any closer than tier 3, Kevin. And the reason I say that is because there's too much potential there for you to do harm to your site if it's only 2 hops away. And what you're asking about here in this particular question, that would be 2 hops away. So they'd be essentially tier 2 links, because you'd be building links to your tier 1 properties, correct? And so I don't recommend doing that because Google's looking out 2 layers now, or 2 levels out at your backlink profile. And so I recommend that you keep at least the first 2 tiers of links clean. If you're using an IFTTT network or your social, even if you're not using an IFTTT network, which you should be, by the way, but if you're just using like your social profiles and stuff like that as your basically tier 1 links, then I would still use a cleaner set of links to link to those. But there's a bunch of ways that you could do that. Like, I mean, you could use FCS Networker or Sendwire. You could use something that uses like the high authority, more trusted type Web 2.0 platforms and social platforms. You could use PBNs that are themed relatively well to boost your tier 1 links, and then or you could use press releases, anything like that, and then from there you could spam the shit out of those because that's tier 2, right? You'd be going out to tier 2 at that point. So, for example, you could do from GSA to, let's say, FCS Networker links to IFTTT Network or social profiles, which then link back to your money site, and that way GSA is all the way out at level 3.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
You want to add to that or not?
Yeah, I wanted to add something real quick. I mean, the main point is, going manual, high quality on your tier 1s, and if you're doing software, then make it high quality software on your tier 2, like FCS, or highly filter like TrustFlow 20, 30 plus GSA contextual links. But as Bradley was saying, you need to be really skilled with the tool, or have somebody that could build those kind of links for you.
Yeah.
Because if not, we usually use the tools for what they are designed for. GSA is a spam tool, so it can build a lot of links really fast, and that's the main purpose of it. So if you wanna, try and use GSA to point to your money sites, then you won't get any results, or your sites will get hurt because it's what it does. It's designed to do spam. So if you want high quality, you may as well, outsource it or get your tier 1s manual, and on tier 2 then you can still use software but with a tad of quality. You need to be relevant with your content, and you need to be contextual, which is the most important thing, and you need to be using high TrustFlow platforms. That would be my
yeah, and I would recommend, even if you don't have access to like excuse me, a PBN network or something of your own, you could buy a PBN run a set of PBN links or something from somebody on a Black Hat forum or whatever. As long as you get the report, but if you don't get the report, then I wouldn't recommend that. But you could use something like you could buy a set of Web 2.0 links, which with decent content or whatever, just to point to your tier 1 properties is my point, and then you could spam the shit out of those. Is what I'm saying. So you just try to keep it clean for 2 layers. Is what we're trying to say. If you're going to use tools and you can set up the tools properly to where you can get some relatively decent content, and it's very difficult to do that, by the way, but to get some relatively clean content and using the high authority properties, then you can use a tool to tier 1, but again, you've got to be really skilled with it. I don't know what your skill set, your skill level is with them, so I'm just making an assumption here, but for everybody else, for their benefit, I would recommend that you just try to keep it 2 layers out as clean as you can, and then from that point you can hammer away at it. So, okay.
Hey, Bradley.
Yep.
We keep going into this that no page authority will pass through a no follow. I don't see anything, or I haven't seen anything in Moz that says that page authority does not pass through a no follow link.
No, he was talking about TrustFlow, I believe. He's saying no follow passes DA. So DA and PA will pass through no follow.
The wiki link is no follow, so no PA.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the first question. Okay,
Yeah.
I was looking at the second question. Yeah, no, PA I think still passes through no follows.
It's authority. It's authority regardless. One is a measure of the on-page factors. The other one is domain-wide.
That's right. Page rank doesn't pass through a no follow.
Correct. And Mike Pierce commented also to remind people not to link subdomains to the root domain if you're going to spam.
That's right. That's a good point. I've just assumed that he understood that, and Kevin might, but for everyone else that's listening, You don't make the mistake of linking from the subdomain that you're using for spam purposes up to your root domain. You leave it independent. You can even set it to no index so that other people can't see it. You know, hopefully Google won't index it, but you can set the subdomain to no index so that you don't get so that it doesn't get seen and spam that. But you do not want to put a physical link up to your root domain because it's strictly for juicing the site. But again, that's why we recommend running it through a 301. Have just a go buy a .xyz domain, which you can get for $1 right now, and just set up a 301 redirect to the subdomain that you want to juice, and then run everything to the XYZ domain. Okay, that's the best way to do it, because that way, if something happens, you can just open that switch up as quickly as you know, or redirect it somewhere else to your competitor that you don't like. Not that I'm encouraging that. I'm just saying you could.
Bad Bradley.
Rayno says, if I create a brand new page on WordPress site and I don't add it to the menu, would Google ever be able to see it or index it without any links to it anywhere? That's a good question. They have to have a pathway to find it.
Yeah.
The spiders have to be able to get to it somehow.
Will it be on the sitemap, Rainer? Because sometimes, you know, WordPress will ping if you add a new page or a new, I think it's a new post, but if it is on the sitemap, unless you specifically set it up to no index,
yeah,
at some point it will index because it will appear on the sitemap.
Yeah.
Unless you specifically tell it not to.
Yeah, and Rainer, in WordPress, if you're talking about a self-hosted WordPress site, you're probably using an SEO plugin, right? I'm sure you are. Yoast, Ultimate SEO, or SEO Ultimate, whichever, all-in-one SEO, they all have similar options where you could set an actual, in the advanced settings on that for that particular post or page, you could set it to no index if you wanted. And so, by reading the rest of your question, it looks like that you're just worried about it coming to be coming to be indexed while you're still in the process of editing it. You know, unless you've got a blog that has a ton of authority and a lot of traffic coming to your site on a regular basis, you could post it and then still make edits, and it's not going to be a big deal because chances are it's not going to get indexed immediately anyways.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a site that the spiders like and they just sit there and wait for updates to be made, well, then maybe that's the case. Because he's asking about if he puts it in draft, should he put it in draft mode and keep editing that way instead of publishing it? Like, honestly, I could care less about that most of the time. I mean, because I have it, before I hit publish the first time, I usually have the page mostly completed. And then I'll hit publish, you know, and if I've got to go back and make some edits, so be it. I mean, that's kind of normal. That's natural. So yeah. I wouldn't sweat it too much, Rainer, but you could set it to no index if you wanted to and publish it, and then just whenever you're ready to make to get it indexed, go disable that no index option, and then you could just go ping it once you're done. So once you've disabled the no index option, then republish it or update it, I mean, and then you could just go ping the URL or go submit it to Webmaster Tools or whatever to get it crawled and indexed.
Unless you have something like an IFTTT hooked up to your website, you know, where you post and then it gets indicated out.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
If that's the case, then you would want to, you know, to leave it in draft mode and publish the latest version, because, you know, it will syndicate out, and unless you change the date and republish it, which I wouldn't recommend, you will still have, you know, the old versions all over the syndication network.
That's true.
If that's the case, then go ahead with the draft. Or if you're fine with it, you can set it to no index, as Bradley was saying.
Yeah, because that's true. Because I got, you know, a bunch of VAs that do curating for my sites and client sites and stuff like that. And when I'm training them, I always have to remind them to save in draft mode and send them me to review first, because there's an IFTTT ring around everything. And so I've made the mistake in the past of not reminding them to save it in draft mode, and they publish it and then send me the links for review, and I find errors like internal linking errors or whatever that need to be updated, and by then it's too late across the networks. You can still update the post itself, but it's not going to update where it's already been syndicated to. So Hernan is right. If you're going to be syndicating your content after it's published, then you want to keep it in draft mode until your final draft is ready. Okay. Chef Constantine, haven't seen him in a while. Man, it's been a long time since he's been in one of these. Hey guys,
Yeah,
quick
but
question.
he's been in our RYS Academy Facebook group. He's active in there
Really?
Nice.
Okay.
as Alex,
Very cool.
I believe.
He used to
Correct
be
me if I'm
on.
wrong, Chef.
Used to attend the Hump Day Hangouts all the time. I haven't seen him for a while. Hey guys, quick question about IFTTT recipes. Been having some trouble connecting app.net. I heard somebody else was having some trouble too. I think it was in RYS Academy. In fact, somebody mentioned that, or that was him, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was him.
Okay, that was okay. I haven't had any trouble. I haven't heard of any. That so it was you. So okay, so you've said it twice now. I haven't had any problems that I know of. If anybody else wants to chime in on the page that says they're having trouble, then yeah, maybe it's something we can look into. I hadn't noticed any trouble, so curious to see what it is. If you're having, like, for example, there's sometimes, guys, if you have trouble with IFTTT recipes, like a particular property not working right, sometimes if you just set it up as a secondary, like a secondary link, a tier 2 link, in other words, you might use like another trigger instead. So like, if your blog post, if your money site blog is syndicating, and that's the trigger. And then let's say if your blog then blogger.com or blogspot.com, right? Then you could set up the app.net potentially as a second tier, which would be like if blogger RSS then app.net. And sometimes you have to do that, especially with the YouTube. Ever since YouTube changed its API stuff, there's been some of those recipes that have to be set up that way now. So that's something you could check. Last thing I would say, he says he's having trouble with connecting it. So I haven't had that trouble. I haven't heard of that being an issue. And we have, our team that builds these for people like all the time. And I haven't heard of it. So it might just be something specific to you, Alex. Don't know what else to tell you right now. I'd have to look into it. Caesar says, is duplicate content penalized in local SEO? I've heard yes and no, so hoping you could shed some light on the issue. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it.
Before you go answering that, I posted 2 articles in the group on duplicate content, and one of them, I don't like to quote Mr. Matt because he doesn't make sense like 99% of the time. In this one, he actually makes sense, so I posted it. So it would be something worthwhile to look at as far as duplicate content is concerned.
So you're spreading propaganda too, Marco?
Yeah, man. Sorry, but he actually makes sense on this one.
Well,
kinda.
I'll chime in and just say my opinion on it. I don't recommend it. I mean, like, for example, when I'm doing local sites, and let's say I'm doing a plumber site, and I'm covering, I don't know, 6 cities that are all closely, in close proximity to each other, I don't use the same article on all 6 city pages and then just change the geographic modifier, the city name. I don't do that. I get 6 different writers to write 6 different articles. You know what I'm saying? So I get 6 different writers to write the plumbing article for each one of those cities, so that I have a total of 6 unique articles. Now I know there's stuff like SERPshaker, Lead Gadget. There's these big site builders that will do that kind of stuff, and they don't mix up the content very much. But I look at those as churn and burn sites. Like, I know that people have some that have that have had them for a long time. They produce a lot of money for them, whatever. But I look at them as churn and burn. Like, I never expect those types of sites to last very long. So I just recommend that you always keep it unique, because even if it does work, at some point it's potentially going to cause you problems. So why go through the trouble of setting all that up just to end up and getting a penalty from it? I don't like rework, guys. So I try to get it all set up right the first time, so I don't got to worry about it. Okay. I have a client, first one, plus one to that, that wants me to SEO his site. Should I 301 my own site to his site and build all the backlinks to my site? Does this pass along all the juice from my site to his? I believe this is what you advise in case of whatever reason he decides to fire me after the site is ranking. I can just pull the plug in 301, correct? Yeah, Caesar, but that's a little bit. I know you're in the mastermind. That's a little bit more geared for that. I don't want to get into that here. It's because there's going to be too many people. It's going to open up a big can of worms, and I do not want to get into that here on a Hump Day Hangout. So, yes, but if you want to get into further discussion, Caesar, post that in the mastermind. We have a mastermind webinar tomorrow anyways, so we can talk about that some more there. Don't forget there's a webinar questions category inside the mastermind. If you want to post that specifically in there, I will cover that tomorrow. Or you can just click on the events tab and post your question on the events page for tomorrow's webinar. Okay? Would it be okay to put multiple cities that you want to rank for in the same county in the meta description If yes, would it be okay to sprinkle them into the content as well, or would that be over-optimizing? Well, I particularly like to do basically one page per city. I guess it just depends. It depends on the level of competition. If you're in something that's not real competitive, you can get away with mentioning multiple cities that are, within a specific county, for example, on the same page, and you'll probably do well with that. But if you're in a competitive market, whatever your industry is, or most likely you're going to need a separate page targeting each individual city, a separate page or post. Okay. Like I said, if it's low competition, you can generally get away with targeting multiple cities, like within the same county, and being able to rank for those. You're going to have to do it. It depends on what you're doing with your off-page stuff, but yeah, a lot of the times you can rank for that. But if you're doing more competitive stuff, you're going to want independent pages so that you're targeting one focused location per page or post. Okay. Is there any disadvantage of putting the business name as an anchor text linking back to the home page on a site-wide footer? If so, should I use a nofollow, or should I not even bother linking from the footer? No, it won't hurt. I don't think so. Like if you put like the business name in the footer with and that's the anchor text, and it just links to the home page, the root URL, I don't see how it could hurt. I've done it before. It would be considered a site-wide link, but it's a site-wide link that's an internal link. So that's different. It's not the same. If you're putting a site-wide link on other sites, then that's different. Those should be no-followed. All right. Sorry, I missed one last question. What is the best practice for anchor text when backlinking from Tier 3 to Tier 2 properties? Should use broad, exact, branded. Don't use exact. You could use broad. I wouldn't use branded from Tier 3 to Tier 2. Tier 2 to Tier 1, sure. Especially if you're linking to really any type of social profile or citations. It would make sense to link to those using the company name, the brand name, right? But I wouldn't link from Tier 3 to Tier 2 links with brand name. That wouldn't make sense. Don't go exact either. Use very broad keywords, or just use a lot of URL anchors or generics. You can use generics too.
Yeah, sorry, Cesar, but I usually go for 90% broad and URLs.
Yep.
Because otherwise, if you're using branded from Tier 3, when you look for the brand name, when you're looking for the actual brand in Google, it will pop up all over the place with a ton of shitty links.
Yep.
So be careful about that when using branded on your Tier 3s. Try using broad, like really broad. If you can import your own keyword lists into GSA, that's better. Or URLs, like I do 90% of those, 10% citations or something like that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, it doesn't really make sense either to be using brand as an anchor from Tier 3 to Tier 2, because if somebody's clicking on a brand name, they're expecting to go to one of your branded properties, and one of your branded properties would be your Tier 1 properties for the most part, right? Or your actual website, your money site.
Right.
So if somebody clicks from a link with a brand name and it takes them to another article with another link that clicks to it, to me it's bad for the user too. You know what I mean? So I would just, not that the user's ever going to find your Tier 3 links, but you never know. But I wouldn't do it. I would just go with broad, like Hernan said, and URL anchors, and then maybe sprinkle some generics in there. Geo modifier, no. In fact, I very rarely use exact match anchors now at all, even for Tier 1 links to my money site. With the geo modifier, I'll use them very, very sparingly. I go with broad keywords, URL, and brand for my money sites now. I'm using less generics now than I am even broad keywords for anchor text profiles to money sites, because it just makes sense, guys. Like for a while we had to use a bunch of generics like click here, learn more, find out more here, website, those kind of like generic terms. But I've actually been testing most probably, I don't know, 70 to 80% is all brand and URL anchors now, and then I'll use some broad match, and then a few generics, and then some partial match or partial match with brand, or long strings of anchor text so that it helps with mobile search, that sort of thing. Okay. What anchor should you use when blasting your Web 2.0 properties? Again, go with broad. Go with broad mainly in URL anchors. Okay. All right. Let's see. Mike Pierce +1 that. Mike says branded IFTTT network attribution links in money site blog posts should be to article related to main site pages, or should they be just related info links? These links will be all the same anchor text, right? So does that have an adverse effect on link profiles? Attribution links in money site blog post should be to article related main site pages. Well, you don't need an attribution link on your money site blog post. The attribution link is created in the RSS feed, Mike. It's not, you don't code that in. You don't put the link in the actual blog post. What it does is when your RSS feed is going to generate that link. Whether if you're using the Yoast SEO plugin, it'll generate it. You have to go to the RSS, the advanced settings in the plugin, SEO Yoast SEO plugin, and then you'll see the RSS tab. You click on that, and that's where you code in the they're tokenized and everything, so it's stupid simple to do. But you just put your RSS attribution link in there, or if you're using our plugin, you can put spin tags and stuff in there, which will vary it a bit. But that's where the attribution link is generated at the RSS feed. It's not actually something that you put in. And yes, it will point back to the post because that's what an attribution link is. It's supposed to cite the source. So if you're syndicating your content out across your network, pretty much only 3 places are going to pick up that anchor text URL anyways, right? And that's going to be Blogger, Tumblr, and WordPress. Because the rest are either just social signals or bookmarks. So you're going to get a link back to the post, but to the post with the post title as the anchor text, but that's it. So the attribution link really doesn't even get picked up except for in those 3 that I just mentioned, Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress. And in that, depending on how you set it up, it's usually going to be the link back to the post URL with the title of the post as the anchor text, and then you can also put in a link back to the home page. And that's where our plugin, the Semantic Mastery RSS plugin, is a little bit better than just using the Yoast one because you can put in spin tags for follow and no follow. You can vary the anchor text to where it could be a naked URL, the brand, your brand name, blah blah blah, so that at least that attribution part of it, pointing back to your home page, is varied. Regularly, it's varied at random. Okay. So does that have an adverse effect on link profiles? No, because unless you've got like hundreds of freaking IFTTT networks attached to your money site, it's not an issue. Okay, that's part of the reason. Like I said, if you're going to be using like a branded IFTTT network, don't worry about it because they're all extensions of your brand anyways, right? But that's why I always recommend if you're doing blog syndication, you just stick with one branded IFTTT network for tier 1, and that's it. And you juice those, build additional links to those, instead of like with YouTube where we'll do the tiered networks because it automates going out to tier 2 and everything else. Because I worry about people making the mistake of over-optimizing by not knowing what they're doing. So you're better off just sticking with a single ring around your money site that's branded because those are all extensions of your brand, so it's okay. Okay, Torrent says, I just bought one of your 2-tier networks and have a few questions. Do I need to add attribution to the IFTTT recipes for the tier 2 posts, i.e. blogger feed going to tier 2 sites? No, unless you're using secondary content sources, related content sources, RSS feeds as additional triggers, which we recommend. And if that's the case, you need to go check the RSS feed of the related content sources. Each one independently you're going to have to check. And look at, so just go to Firefox, open up Firefox, paste the RSS URL in, and hit go, and then take a look at it. Is there an attribution link already appended to each one of the posts, like what I was just talking about with Mike? Many times it will be, but there are times that there won't be one either. And when that's the case, you do have to code that in yourself. You just got to create. It's easy to do. There's recipes for that. I mean, there's ingredients for that, right? Let me just open this up, and I'll show you. Without even opening up, it would be something like, I would say it would be, and then you're going to have tokens inside of, which are ingredients inside of IFTTT, and they look something like this, right? So it would be entry URL, and then it would say, then right here you'd use the token for entry title. Oops, I typoed it, but it would be something like that. That's going to give you your attribution for the post title with the link pointing back to the post URL right here, right? So close that anchor tag, and then you would say appeared first, something like this. Don't use the same text. I mean, you know, I would vary it for each recipe, but appeared first on, and then you would put a link back to the home page of the related content blog. So let's say it was, whoops. Let's say it was, I don't know, we'll say moz.com for since Marco decided he wanted to start spreading the propaganda that Moz does. So we'll say appeared first on Ozblog, something like that. Does that make sense? Is that clear, guys? Anybody get that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Okay, got it. I just wanted some confirmation. Thanks. But that's it. I mean,
you're doing such a good job.
Torin, all you need to do is just check the RSS feeds first. If you're just using, which again, if you're using blog syndication, you're going to have the attribution links already going to be present in the recipe from your money site. It's going to already be there, and it's going to get resyndicated once it goes out to tier 2 as well. It's going to get posted again. But that's why we totally don't recommend using tier 2 networks for blog syndication unless you're using the related content feeds. Because otherwise, you're leaving a massive footprint. It's okay on a branded network because it's an extension of your brand. It makes sense. It's logical. People do it all the time anyways. When they create a blog post and they go manually share it on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or Google+, whatever, they're doing the same damn thing. We just automate it. Okay? So the point is if you're using Tier 2 networks, though, you don't want them going out to persona-based Tier 2 networks with the exact same content every single time and nothing else, because then you're clearly using it to manipulate SEO. Okay, and so that can create a problem. So that's where you use, if you're going to be using tier 2 networks or tiered networks with blog syndication, you want to add in related content feeds into your tier 2 triggers to populate your tier 2 networks with related content from other sources so that it buries your posts in with other related posts, which will help to increase trust signals anyways. Okay, and so again, you just have to check to make sure that the feeds that you're using at your tier 2 triggers have attribution links already appended to the posts via the RSS. If they do not, then you have to add that in yourself, but it's quite simple to do. The ingredients will be in the ingredients list when you're creating the recipes, but it's something like this. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Should I add attribution for the non-tier 1 feeds as well, i.e. the feeds from authority sites? Okay, so I already answered that. Do the authority feeds need to be full posts or the feeds with snippets work? Well, snippets work. I mean, you can't control whether they're full posts or not. So I just use them whether it's snippets or full posts. It doesn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Since your plugin works on WordPress sites, do you have any suggestions for handling attribution on non-WordPress sites? Thanks. Yeah, and same thing. If it's a non-WordPress site, and when you set up the RSS recipe as the trigger, you just add in or code in your own attribution link, which is what you can do if you're not using WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you do not do it. If you're using something like Semantic Mastery plugin or Yoast, which will control the attribution link, don't do it because otherwise you will have duplicated links.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, just make sure that if you are using, you don't want to do this if you are using a plugin that creates one, or you have basically 2 links in the footer of every article. So, right. Do you feel FightBack Network links are safe as tier 2s? Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that, Kendrick. Absolutely. What do you guys think of vidpenguin to help with YouTube rankings? I think it's unnecessary. You can do the same damn thing with vidpenguin as you can with a spreadsheet, really. I mean, those guys have been working on it, and it's, you know, there's definitely some benefit to having some URL variations. I just think it's I don't think it's necessary, is my point. You know, I think it will help to a degree, but you can accomplish the same thing if you can get the URL variations from one video. Then you can create a spreadsheet that will automatically do that in Excel or Google Sheets for you by just entering in your YouTube URL.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think about it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just, I don't think it's necessary. But if you've got some extra money to spend and you want to use it, by all means, check it out. How quality is the content you use on Tier 2, FBN, or FCS? For Tier 2, well, we talked about this earlier, Kendrick, in this webinar here. I tend to try to keep Tier 2 stuff somewhat clean.
Yeah.
Not
As long
just total garbage. Tier
Yeah.
3, fine, can be total garbage, but Tier 2, I try to keep it at least relevant, if nothing else. So.
Yeah, relevant will do. I mean, if with FCS we were doing like relevant themed articles. That's the whole point.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they're not freaking prize-winning articles, but they're at least relevant, because that goes back to building trust signals and everything else. You need that relevancy, guys. At Tier 3, it's not quite so necessary, but at least 2 tiers out, it should be. Mike says, do you think Google will replace links with Light Sabers?
Definitely.
It's coming. I don't know when, but as mentioned, let's see, that was Adam. Okay, cool. Mike says, branded IFTTT Network Question number 2 is all that is necessary for content and IFTTT network properties the RSS feed from the money site blog, or should they also be getting curated or unique posts in addition to the RSS feed from the money site blog posts? Again, Mike, I'm not 100% sure on your question. With a branded IFTTT network, the only thing you need on that network is your own content, which means you publish posts to your blog. They syndicate out across your network. And on your Tier 1 branded networks, because it's just an extension of your brand, you don't need any other content, period. And I don't recommend that you even add other content, because the thing is that's your brand funnel, right? Like once people land on any one of your branded properties, your Tier 1 social properties, your Tier 1 blog like WordPress to Tumblr blogger, you want all roads to lead back to your money site. Not to distract people and send them other places. You want them to lead back to you. So I recommend that you only put your own content on your branded networks. Now, you can use curated content as your blog posts, because that's what we do a lot of, because curated content is just awesome. It's easier to produce, it's cheaper to produce, and it will actually build a lot of trust signals and relevancy, because it's curated content and you're linking out to high authority, or at least highly relevant, not necessarily high authority, but highly relevant content. And so my point is if you curate blog posts on your own money site and that's what gets syndicated, well, that's fine too, because again, it's really your opinion. You're injecting your opinion into other people's content and curating an article that's going to end up leading back to your site anyways, right?
Yeah.
So
sorry, Bradley, but I like to think on Tier 1 branded IFTTT networks has extensions of the main money site.
Yep.
So you could actually sell on your main branded network. If you have a Google Plus account, if you have a Facebook account, if you have Twitter, if you have a Tumblr blog, you can actually sell on them, or at least bring people back into your golden frame, into your website where you will close the sale, but they can bring traffic and they should be treated as extensions of your main brand. That's what they are for.
Yep. Yep, and that's why, I mean, like I said, in curated content's great strategy, guys. We have a whole entire course about it called Curation Mastery that teaches how to do curating properly, also how to do it for money site posts or for PBN posts, because it's just so much cheaper to produce. It's highly efficient. And it actually is much more effective than usually, original content. Unless you've got a particularly good original content writer that's, then by all means go with original content. But for the most part, most SEOs that we train are using content farms for their content. And they're buying these shitty articles for $3 to $5 or whatever per article, and they're just basically all those writers are doing is going and scraping articles from somewhere, running them through a spinner, and trying to clean them up just a little bit, and then they submit them back to you, and they end up reading like junk. And so you're much better off using curated content, because now you can take content that is well written, well researched content and kind of mix and match it to create your own posts with just some of your own thoughts injected into in between curated pieces, and that makes it a much more powerful post. And that's a great strategy. I mean, we do most all of our content marketing is done through curation. And so again, with that, you can certainly, then again, it's just you're posting to your own blog. Your own blogs are being your blog posts, are being syndicated out across your network, but you're not publishing other people's content except for what you've curated in your own articles. Okay. Willie says he's glad he made it. Willie, we're here every Wednesday, almost for an entire year. Mike says, replacing money site. Have this site with 150 keywords, page 1 results. Obviously, don't want to screw it up. Original had flash 3D images and other coding problems. Replacing with all page name URLs exactly as original. I know we will take a hit in the SERPs, but do you have suggestions to lessen the blow? And would an IFTTT network help lessen the blow in the SERPs? Probably not. I mean, will an IFTTT network help? Yes. My answer is always yes. My answer is always going to be yes. Well, your site's still going to take a bit of a hit. You're right, because you make any major structural changes to a site, and it's gonna do some dancing. Period. Okay. But if you did put a network around your site, which you should, again, I'm always going to encourage that. Then start blogging. Okay, so that you're constantly up. And guys, consistency is key. You want to have a frequent and consistent posting schedule that you're using to keep your networks active and to keep that freshness factor always. Okay. Unfortunately, you are going to see some dancing. There's just no way around that.
Yeah, and you can always 301. I mean, if you're using the same URL structure, that's fine. But if you're changing the CMS, for example, changing it to WordPress, you can even 301 it on the htaccess file, or use a plugin like SEO redirection or something like that. You know, that will usually bring the traffic from the old URLs to the new ones. If it's not the case, because you're replacing with all page your names, URL, etc. as original. But if you're missing anything, then you can 301 it to the new site.
Yeah. But if you got old Flash and 3D images and stuff, yeah, you're definitely time to update for sure. That sounds like a bit of a project, Mike. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I know it is. Doing those kind of projects really sucks, but you got to do what you got to do, and it's like rip the Band-Aid off quickly. You know what I mean? Just get it done, and yeah, it's going to probably take a hit for a few weeks until everything settles in, but it's just better to do it now than wait. You know what I mean? Just get it over with. So, Torrance says, awesome, thanks. I'll +1 that. Kendrick says, relevant content. Got it, thanks. Wondering about stuff like scraped, spun stuff from something like ContentFoundry. I haven't looked at ContentFoundry, not sure. It's all related to roofing, and each sentence reads okay, but all together, so not so coherent, i.e. not coherent at all. Just wondering if that kind of stuff is dangerous on Tier 2. Yeah, I mean, it depends, Kendrick, doesn't it always, you know? Yeah. It depends on what you're linking to. You know, I wouldn't want to be linking directly to, like, my branded properties, which would be like your Tier 1 network properties or social profiles and stuff, with that kind of content. If you're I mean, I guess you could, but you'd have to just be wary of what you're linking to, like if it has no follow or do follow links, because that is going to make a difference. You know, so like if you're going to be using shit that looks like that, then I recommend doing it to like the stuff that has no follow links pointing back to your site, because then all you're trying to do is actually end up boosting those properties a little bit by just pushing juice to them. It's not necessarily about like really going to help your money site that much. It's good because you're building to a no follow link anyways. But you can do that. I mean, again, I recommend that you just be careful, because you do have properties in like citations and everything else that will have do follow links. Well, those you use very strategically. Use good content, because now you have like a conduit that you're pushing juice directly back into your site. You know. Yeah.
I've used ContentFoundry, and it's pretty much a scraper like Wiki Article Creator or SEO Content Machine. And yeah, it will scrape and spin content. For FCS, for example, we were using Article Builder, which after going through the spinner, it will still read okay. It's still related, but if you are in doubt, Kendrick, you can always use a switch box. A 301 between that content and the property that you want to pump. Say that you are building, I don't know, 100, 150 links from FCS to a Tier 1 with that content. Then you can put a switch box in between, and see how it behaves. So,
yeah. Cool. We're about wrapped up. So this is the first week in several weeks that we actually got through all the questions. That's great. So Kendrick says, LOL, it depends. Yeah, doesn't it always? SEO, that's my standard question. Anytime somebody says, well, is this going to work, or do you think this will work? I always say it depends. Because there's so many variables, guys. It's just impossible. And like my favorite question, sarcasm, my favorite question is, how many networks is it going to take for me to rank for this keyword? As many as it takes. That's my answer, and I think we even have it in the knowledge base on our support site. So how many networks is it going to take? As many
There's a
as
canned response. If you send that question in to me, know that I'm not actually typing that answer back to you.
Yeah, as many as it takes. And we get that question a lot, and it's funny. If I knew, if SEO was that easy, everybody would do it. So.
Good deal. Well, it's almost time for masterclass.
Yep, we're gonna wrap it up. So we'll see you guys next week. For Masterclass members, we'll see you in just a moment. And Mastermind members, we'll see you tomorrow. So.
Yeah, and congrats again to the winners. That was pretty good. I think that was like $1,500, $1,700 worth of stuff. So stay tuned. Like we said, for episode 52, we'll have another contest, and then we'll be doing some stuff live. So that'll be in 3 weeks.
Congratulations, guys. All right, guys, we'll see you in a few minutes.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.